4 Steps to Becoming Narcissist Proof. My name is Jared Mello, the Wizard of Radical Self-Respect and the Shepherd of Black Sheep. If you would like to schedule a one-on-one session with me to get individual help learning to become narcissist proof, my email is in the description. And this video, it's what it's all about. And let's jump right in. Number 1, the first step to becoming narcissist proof is learning all about narcissism and their behaviors, learning about abusive behaviors, and learning to recognize what disrespect looks like. This is the stage that people seem to have the least amount of problems with. It's the stage that can sometimes be addicting because it is often extremely validating when you finally learn what you've been dealing with for a long time. If you've been in a trauma bond and people have been blaming you, they've been telling you everything's your fault, you're always wrong, you're always guilty of something, and then you learn about narcissistic content, and you watch the content, and you can get hooked on it because it just feels so validating, and you get these aha moments. But this is a huge part of the healing process, learning to recognize what are those narcissistic behaviors. What is DARVO? Deny, accuse, reverse victim, and offender. What is gaslighting? What is flipping the script? What is word salad? What is the silent treatment? What is twisting and distorting everything you say? What is guilt tripping? What is playing the victim? All of these are super important so that if you see it, it's something to pay attention to. Also, disrespect. What does disrespect look like? A lot of people, when they're being abused, they are confused and they don't know exactly what's going on. They don't know they're being mistreated, abused, and disrespected. So remember, what does disrespect look like? And a big way to go with this is, what are someone's actions communicating? Because actions will communicate the loudest of all. People might say one thing, but their actions may communicate another. Always trust someone's actions more so than their words. And how people act, that's going to be the best indicator of what their priorities are and what they really think and feel. Trust that. Trust someone's actions over what they say every time. And to reiterate step 1 here, learn about narcissism and narcissistic behaviors, learn about abusive behaviors, and learn to recognize disrespect. And again, this is the stage people have the least amount of problems with, but also people can sometimes stay stuck in this stage, and that's not what you want to do. But that's all with the goal of moving to step 2. Step 2 to becoming narcissist proof is trust what your eyes are seeing. If you see disrespect, trust that that is what you are seeing. If you see gaslighting or a silent treatment, or you see someone not respecting you or showing you with their actions that they just don't care, trust what your eyes are telling you. And this is an important part of the healing process, because when you were in a trauma bond, you probably did not trust what your eyes were telling you, and you were constantly gaslit, told you were wrong about everything, and you began to second guess yourself more than likely. But a big part in becoming narcissist proof is learning to trust what your eyes see. Trust if you see someone flipping the script, that that's what they're doing. Again, if they're showing you with their actions they don't care, believe what their actions are showing you. If you see someone giving you a silent treatment, trust that too. And then when you see it, it's not enough just to see it. You then have to take action, whatever that is. Maybe that means you need to place a boundary and enforce a boundary. Maybe it means you have to do something else. Maybe it means you have to say no, but it will be very situation dependent. The third step to becoming narcissist proof is learning to trust your gut. And this is very similar to number 2, but not quite, because sometimes people might not say anything wrong officially. They might not say something abusive or disrespectful, but you just have a gut feeling that something is off. And one of the things that you probably didn't do in a relationship with a narcissist when you were in a trauma bond is you didn't trust your gut, because the narcissistic person or abusive person, they convinced you that your gut was wrong. They convinced you that also what your eyes were seeing were wrong. And unfortunately, a lot of times people begin to believe the narcissist and they stop trusting their own intuition and their gut. So part of the healing process is reversing that. Starts with trusting what your eyes see, but then also trust your gut and your intuition. If you've got a bad feeling about somebody, there probably is a very good reason you have a bad feeling with that person. And it reminds me of something that Meredith Miller, who I also interviewed recently, has said is, if you don't feel comfortable being yourself around somebody, there probably is a very good reason for that. Learn to trust those feelings, that if you feel apprehensive, if you feel that something's not quite right, trust that feeling and go with it, because I've not trusted it before in my own life, and then I paid the price for not trusting it because I should have. And later what happened was the person wound up being disrespectful, the person wound up being abusive or narcissistic or trying to scam me in some way, and then I realized, wow, I should have paid attention to my gut. I had a gut feeling something wasn't quite right here, but I didn't trust my intuition. And that happened enough times that I learned to trust it. And again, it's not even about them being a narcissist or abusive or whatever. Sometimes they might not be compatible. And if someone's not compatible, that's the same result for us. If we have a gut feeling that someone's not compatible, trust that too. They don't have to be a villain, but sometimes if we're just not compatible, we need to pay attention to that as well. But these are all things that we should pay attention to. And then number 4, and this is one of the most important ones that people can probably mess up a lot, is have the ability and the courage to walk away if people are not respecting your boundaries. And again, people may be able to do step 1, learn about narcissism and abusive behaviors, recognize disrespect. They can trust what their eyes are telling them and what their eyes are seeing, and they might even be able to trust their intuition and their gut. But if they don't take the ultimate action, that when someone places a boundary and tries to enforce a boundary and then it just doesn't get respected, and the other person decides to disrespect you more and trample your boundaries, at this point, they are leaving you no choice but to walk away from the situation. And this is where people's preconceived notions and where their survival mechanisms from childhood or whatever insecurities they may have, this is the step where they might come out. Where if you're afraid to be alone, you might be afraid to walk away, even when you see disrespect and abusive behaviors. If you really don't want to be alone, people can be stuck. Or maybe they want to see the best in other people and they want to keep on giving them endless second chances because they'll say, maybe, I've got a big heart and I want to see the best in people. But if that's you and you're constantly getting hurt, that big heart is not really doing you too much good. And I would say it's very important for people to treat themselves good first and foremost, because if you treating someone else good is hurting you or harming you, that is a problem. We have to put ourselves first in a healthy way, because if we're not, what kind of healthy relationship will we be able to have anyway at that point? We're not going to be able to. So the other one I will often see sometimes, the people who don't want to be single, the people who don't want to be alone, the people who want to see the best in other people. And then another one would be that they just say, oh, what would it say about me if I were to walk away? I don't want to give up on them. And I don't want to end the relationship because the narcissistic person said everyone's given up on them in the past. And I don't want to be the person that's giving up on them. And again, this is a guilt trip that is successful. If someone's disrespecting us and being abusive towards us, any amount of guilt tripping is just something that's going to keep us stuck. Anyone who truly values us and respects us, they're not going to be abusive. They're not going to be the person that continually mistreats us, and their actions are speaking loud and clear. But whatever it is out there, there's people that stay stuck in these situations for many reasons. Part of it's a trauma bond as well, where they got that cognitive dissonance. And when there's a trauma bond, trauma cognitive dissonance, and that's when they see the one side they see the mistreatment, they see the disrespect, they see the abuse, but on the other side, then they'll remember the love bombing. On the other side, they'll remember the good times, or they'll say, if only this were to be different, if only they stopped doing this, or maybe they'll blame themselves, or if only I didn't say this, the relationship would be okay. But when it comes to a narcissistic person, it's just not going to work. If they have a narcissistic personality, they are just not capable of a healthy relationship at that point. And the only exceptions to that would be if someone you see is like Lee Hammock and they are actively trying to better themselves and consistently going to therapy and holding themselves accountable. But let's be real, that's not a common scenario at all. And for everyone else, trust what your eyes are telling you. Trust the actions first and foremost. But whatever it is, get rid of those fears and limitations that keep you stuck with people that are not good for you. And again, sometimes it just takes a leap of faith where you have to jump. And it's going to be uncomfortable. And a trauma bond is just like an addiction. And you may go through a quote-unquote drug withdrawal from a person when you go no contact and try to walk away. But that's what's necessary to get better in those situations. But once you're out of a situation like this, hopefully you don't even get to this step 4 place where you've been disrespected so much and abused so much that you're forced to walk away from an abusive person. Ideally, we're going to see this before it even starts. And we're going to recognize it, and we're going to be able to take action in step 1. But again, sometimes those bugaboos will come up where someone wants companionship because they're lonely, or they don't want to be single, or they want to see the best in somebody else, or they don't want to give up on somebody the way other people have. Those are the things that I see people get stuck because of. They'll say, but I don't want to be alone, or but I don't want to be lonely, or whatever it is. And those last things, those are the last things that can keep people stuck, even when they're aware. Even when they're aware of narcissism and disrespect and abusive behaviors. If they got those bugaboos, they can still stay stuck. But combined, these 4 steps here, these 4 steps to becoming narcissist proof, this is the way out. So to reiterate, the 4 steps to becoming narcissist proof. 1, recognize narcissistic behaviors, abusive behaviors, and disrespect. And remember, actions speak the loudest of all. Number 2, trust what your eyes are telling you. If you see disrespect, trust that you're seeing disrespect. If you see abuse, trust that you see abuse. Number 3, trust your gut and your intuition. Sometimes it's not even about what they have done or said. You just have a bad feeling. And I have learned in my own life, we should trust our gut feelings, because when we don't, we might wind up in some crappy situations. And then number 4, if we are being disrespected and we are being abused and they are not respecting our boundaries, the only thing left to do from people like this is to walk away. And ideally, we wouldn't even get to that stage 4. We'd be able to do something about it in steps 1 through 3. But if not, having the courage to walk away is our last guardrail. All of this is about practicing radical self-respect. If we practice radical self-respect, we're not going to be able to stay stuck in a relationship with a narcissist for any length of time, because they're going to force us to disrespect ourselves. That's why practicing radical self-respect is the guardrail to keep us safe. It acts as a guardrail to protect us from those crappy situations. And ideally, a lot of the stuff I do in coaching is going through these 4 things. And if we can master these 4 things, we'll get to the point where we're going to find a healthy relationship. And ideally also, I want to move on to talk about more things besides just narcissism. I would like to talk about just other kinds of dating and relationship issues, because the narcissistic topic is extremely important, but it's just a step. It's a step on the path to recovery. The next parts of the program are, what's a healthy relationship look like? How do you build a strong foundation with somebody? How do you even attract someone good to you to begin with? All of these things are important, because the narcissism topic It's just about getting people out of a situation, or it's preventing a bad relationship from happening before it even starts. But the other parts, to me, those parts are important too, and the quality of someone's life is in large part determined by the quality of their relationships. How happy are they with the people in their lives? What are their relationships like? So often, that is what makes a happy life. And they did a Harvard study. They studied them throughout their whole lives, people from their 20s to about 90. And the number one predictor of how happy somebody was the quality of their relationships. Remember that. But if you got this far, please remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you liked it. Leave a comment below if you could relate or identify with anything I said here. And maybe share this video with someone else that you think might be able to benefit. Because if someone practices these 4 steps, there will be no narcissist in their lives. I can guarantee you that. But if you don't practice these steps, and if you don't practice radical self-respect, you might wind up in one of these horrible situations. And for anyone who's been in one of these horrible situations before, you know how horrible they can be. And we don't want that for ourselves, and we don't want that for anyone else we care about either. But with that, thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.